Pickle, let's go to the hotline. And let's bring in the head coach of the 6-0 Abernathy Antelopes. We are joined by Coach Justin Wiley. Coach, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. How are things in beautiful Abernathy, Texas?
Oh, that's awesome, man. We got sunny skies and a little breeze.
Well, not much to complain about then.
No.
Let me ask you about your team so far. This is a team that I think we had some high hopes for, a team that we thought had an opportunity to make some noise. So far, so good. 6-0, really going out there and taking care of the business that you need to. Is this where you saw your team being entering Week 8?
I thought that we would be. Yeah, we had an opportunity to be here. If we could, stay healthy and understand systems and schemes and all those type of things. And I thought that we had the type of kids that could be at this point in the schedule.
You're there in your second year there as the head coach there at Abernathy. Obviously, you took over last year. Last year was certainly different. What would you say maybe is the biggest difference from last year to this year?
I think that if you look across the state, I think anybody that was new, in the spring of, I don't even forget what year that is, that we went into the pandemic, went into quarantine. My first day on the job here was the first day of quarantine. And so it was really difficult to get things started, so it's a transition in leadership, and you don't really get to start, instead of starting, in March, you really don't get to start till the first Monday in August. And I think and across the state, I think anybody you look at that transition leadership and at that point, they struggled maybe more than teams that were, coaching staffs that had been in place and programs that had been in place for multiple years. And I think that was just, a big part of what we were doing. And we also transitioned from Coach Daly, being in charge of this athletic program for 11 years and his son Bryson being our quarterback for 4 years, so not only was there a new head coach, there was a new, kid on the field running the system, and I had a few new coaches, and it took a while. And I think as the year went on, we got better and better, but I think, having everybody in place coming into year 2 certainly made things easier.
You mentioned you took over for Daryl Daly, who 33 years in coaching. He was there for 11 years at Abernathy. You were his defensive coordinator. And you were there at a program that, let's be honest, it didn't need a whole lot of fixing. It's not like there were all these things. This wasn't a rebuild. How do you go about?
Certainly not a rebuild.
Oh yeah, but how do you go about putting your stamp on a program while still going through and making keeping the train on the track, so to speak?
And one of the things that I really enjoyed working with Coach Daly. He was just probably, of all the people that I've worked with, it was the easiest for me to be an assistant for him. We thought a lot alike, and I'd been fortunate to be a head coach at a couple of other programs, and so I'd had some experience doing that. And so I think that we played off of one another's strengths, and so there's certainly one thing, but any time you change, I think there's just there's a couple of things that I would do different, and really and he probably would have too, because it's based on personnel. The kids, in a small school like us, you have to adapt your schemes year by year, and we had to transition from, Bryson was such a tough physical runner, had a pretty good arm. So we, everything that we did for 4 years was based around, what his strengths were. And, so that's, and those aren't necessarily our current quarterback's strengths. I think he probably has a little more accuracy, a little better arm. And so, we transitioned to throw, and we don't have we have pretty good receivers right now too. So we, transitioned to more of a passing spread offense.
Talking with Justin Wiley, the head coach of the Abernathy Antelopes here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. All right, Coach, you are you're a defensive guy, and so far so good for your defense, giving up right around 14 points per game. You guys beat Reagan County last week and give up 18 points, a lot of those in window dressing time. I'm interested in how you would assess how your defense has played through the first 7 weeks of the year.
Yeah, I thought we played pretty well. Most years, or every year that I've been here, we've been very senior heavy. We run a 5-3 defense. We have 5 linebackers on the field, and usually those 5 linebackers are traditionally, at least 4 of them are always seniors. And so I kind of graduate a group of linebackers every year. But I have another group that moves into it. Well, this year we're a lot younger. I have have a sophomore and a couple juniors, and then a couple seniors that play linebacker. So I think the first few games, it was really getting those guys adjusted to the style of play and making sure that they're ready for Friday night competition. Most of those guys came right off the JV from last year and had to transition to varsity. The first rattle out of the box, you draw Shallow Water, who's that's a school. They're twice as big as we are, and so they started off really well, but it's really been a learning process throughout the year. Reading your keys, learning what your role is on the field, and they've done a great job transitioning into that this year, and continue to get better.
On the offensive side, it's hard to talk about your offense without talking about your signal caller, Jess Hole. This guy's been he's been outstanding. A big group of receivers out there as well. I can look at the numbers, and I can look at the tape, and I can tell you that Jess Hole is pretty darn good quarterback. As the guy who gets to work with him every day in practice, what is it about him that sets him apart?
Yeah, his competitiveness. He's one of the most competitive kids that I've been around. He's a lot like Bryson Daly in that aspect. He's a kid that wants to win. And he's put in the work. He's one of those guys that when the season ended last year, I can't remember unless he had a track meet or a baseball game that day. He never missed an extra workout in the weight room all spring, all summer. Took some time on his own to work with some private coaches and stuff, and along with working with our coaching staff on things that he can improve. He's committed to being the best that he can be for his team, and I think it shows. He's a lot more patient this year with his reads, and doesn't quite, the first read isn't there, doesn't just tuck the ball and take off running. He's working through the system. He understands it better, and so I think he's done a tremendous job so far.
Well, let's talk about what's going down 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night there in beautiful Hale County at Antelope Stadium, as you guys will host unbeaten Idalou, one of only 4 matchups of unbeatens in the UIL ranks in the state of Texas this week. Idalou's pretty good, Coach. I don't know if you've noticed. I'm not going to ask you to give away your game plan here on the air, but when you take a look at what you're up against tomorrow night, what are going to be the keys for you guys?
I think it's just anytime we've played Idalou for the last 4 years, and anytime that this game comes around, of course, our towns are only about 20 miles apart. Everyone, we play them in every sport, so our kids know every one of theirs. All their kids know ours. They're all connected on social media, so between those guys, I'm sure they've got this thing pretty hyped up. But anytime you play Idalou, because of the style of offense they run, they're 2 tight ends, straight eye. They're going to run and pound the ball at you. So you got to win the line of scrimmage. I think that's the number one thing that it comes down to is, can you establish yourself on the line of scrimmage, and then can you limit your turnovers? Because they're gonna run a lot of clock time off because of the style of offense that they run. So you can't have turnovers and just let them eat up a lot of clock on you. So I think those are probably the 2 most important factors. Win the line of scrimmage and control your turnovers.
He's Justin Wiley. He's the head coach of those Abernathy Antelopes. They've got a big game tomorrow night hosting Idalou, and excited to see what they do. Coach, really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on the fantastic start, and go get them tomorrow night.
All right, thank you. We appreciate the call.
There he goes, Justin Wiley, the head coach of the Abernathy Antelopes, join us here on Texas Football Today. And it's interesting the way he kind of alluded to it, how they've kind of changed the offense a little bit. So Bryson Daly was the 4-year starter there, Coach Darrell Daly's son, 4-year starter there. And they ran the ball a lot. They ran the ball really, really effectively. Let me just put it this way. Do you know where Bryson Daly is right now?
Mm-mm.
He's playing for Army.
So running.
They run the ball pretty well. They ask their quarterbacks to run a fair amount, right? He has now, you want to talk about adjusting I don't want to say adjusting your scheme to your personnel, but that's certainly what they've done. They've got a great quarterback in Jess Hole, who has been really solid, taking care of the football, big arm back there, a big wide receiver core, and they're like, all right, let's throw the ball a little bit more. And so now they're probably, whereas under Darrell Daly, they may have been a little bit more, let's call it 65% run, right? They threw the ball a fair amount, but let's call it 65% run. Now they're probably a little bit more 50-50, maybe even a little bit more, 60-40 pass. So it's interesting, and it's going to be an interesting matchup tomorrow against Idalou. Idalou's a team that's going to grind it on the ground. Mm-hmm. They got great defense. They want to win old school. Jeff Lofton wants to play old school football. It'll be very, very intriguing to see that final score roll in. Idalou in Abernathy should be a fun one there at Antelope Stadium. We appreciate Justin Wiley's time today.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.